Welcome to Imperfect Momming. Our children are constantly looking to us for examples. The term role model doesn't quite cut it here. We are shaping their worldview with every move we make. You see, it's not in the lectures we give or moments where we are actively attempting to teach them. It's in the micro movements we make, the unconscious ways in which we navigate life. We are constantly teaching our children how to show up for themselves, their friends, their future partners, and even their future children. So what can we do to ensure we are raising thoughtful, compassionate, self-aware human beings? We have to become them ourselves. No one is perfect, but we can still all be better, and it starts with self-healing. Let's get to it. Welcome back to the Imperfect Momming podcast. And if you're watching live on the Facebook group, welcome to Parent Support Call, or whatever we're calling it this week.
Parent Support Hour. Whatever works.
Whatever's working.
Still figuring out our names.
Imperfect progress.
Yes.
Done is better than perfect. So, I mean, it's the Imperfect Momming podcast. So why would you expect me to be perfect? Or Melanie?
Absolutely. And even on that note, I know we're diving into our topic, Alish, but just sometimes I think for me in the past, I would have been so afraid of not being perfect that I would have rather just stayed in action versus in action. I would have stayed out of action, right? Like in action. It's actually interesting that it's the same word, like inaction and in action. Like you just separate that. Isn't that interesting? I don't know. We'll have to unpack that because that's interesting. But yes, I think the progress part is so critical, that just being willing to do it imperfectly and do it anyway. Yay us, yay me.
Yay. And last week we were talking about a lot of the stress that comes along with the holiday season. And honestly, I think that this is what is behind the scenes of a lot of that stress, is that we as moms or as parents are trying to make this time period really special and amazing and perfect for our children. And I'll tell a little story. I don't think Melanie heard this story, but last week we had to make cookies we didn't have to. We were invited to make or bring goodies for the school to sell at my son's band concert. And he and I decided to make cookies together, and I melted the butter to the full extent that it could be melted in the microwave instead of leaving it a little firm. And so because I did that, if anybody's a baker, that changed the chemistry of the cookies. So the cookies were flat, hard, round discs that were not enjoyable to eat. And I was so mad at myself because I knew better. I know better. And I have an impossible standard that I set myself up for when it comes to baked goods, because of my mom's history working for a bakery for 8 years before I was born. And I hold myself to that standard because that's what I want my son to experience. Without having the 8 years of experience in the bakery, I'm putting that pressure on myself. And so that was like a huge aha for me. That's sort of connected to what we're talking about.
Yeah, and at least you actually did tell me. And if I can share a little bit more about your story, if you're open to it.
Absolutely.
So your experience of it was, I can't believe I spent $50 doing this, and you were very upset about the money that you spent doing it. And
I'd much rather have given them the $50 was specifically yeah.
was specifically the statement that you made, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as an offhanded comment, what you said to me was, I mean, the good thing was that I did get to do this with Xander, and like we had fun doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of that being the focal point
Right.
of the experience, it was the experience of how the cookies ended up turning out.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I'm going to assume or presume or speculate or put this on you or project or whatever it is, tell me if I'm right or wrong on this assessment or assess. The issue, I think, was that judgment of now when you take the cookies in and they're not good, that somebody else is going to judge you for the cookies,
Right.
rather than anyone even think about, wow, what could it have been like for this mom and her son to have experienced this, making these cookies together.
Because nobody knows that I made them with my son. They only know that I'm bringing them. And that was the point that my fiance made, God bless him, is that there was only 2 homemade items that were brought. Everything else was from Walmart, because the Walmart's right down the street. Like every other, and there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just there's my desire was to make something with my son. That was my desire, because it would have been just as easy to buy something from the store, but he wanted to make cookies with me, and so we made cookies together, and I was judging the cookie for how it turned out instead of focusing on that the experience. And then even a friend of mine said my mom didn't even start baking until I was an adult. And it's like that's an experience that I've given my son. And so this isn't exactly what we decided to talk about today, but it's kind of on the same. Well, we'll just talk about what we were going to talk about next time.
Yeah, let's just go with this, because what you said is, and I judged the cookie.
Yeah,
Actually, you didn't
I was
judge the
judging
cookie,
myself.
judge yourself. And what you wanted was having that experience with your son. And you said there would be your words were, there would be nothing wrong with going out to buy the baked goods. That would have probably been me. Actually, I don't know, when my kids were little, I very well may have baked with them just more for the experience than for the actual baking, because it's not my thing. It's not what I necessarily enjoy, but it is something I enjoyed doing with them. And to this day, I enjoy being in the kitchen and cooking with my son, even though I don't enjoy cooking. He loves cooking. So I love just being in the kitchen with him. I mean, fortunately now, like when he cooks, and I'm even, sorry, I'm pausing. Let me finish that thought. Like, fortunately, what I was going to say is, fortunately, now when it cooks, it actually comes out really well. Like, he's become a really good cook, right? Because he was willing to be in the kitchen when he was little, and still thinking it was fabulous, even like that the outcome was fabulous, even when it wasn't, because that's what kids do, right? They don't judge themselves like we grow up to do, and then program our kids to do like we were programmed to do to ourselves. So really, I think, on this concept of how to have fun, how to have more fun around the holidays with your kids, is really just leaning into more of the experience and less of
The perfect outcome.
I wouldn't say the perfect outcome, because the perfect outcome is having fun with your kid. To me, right? Like, that's even what's perfect about the outcome. It's not how perfect the cookies are or your judgment of how perfect the cookies are or aren't, but it's that the perfect outcome is if you lean into just having the experience of what is, enjoying it and having fun. And you said, yeah, it would have been I think these were your words, it would have been just as easy to go and get the cookies at Walmart. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, it probably would have been easier, right? To take that money that you spent on going to buy the ingredients, and then the mess in the kitchen and the cleanup that needed to happen as a result. But really, where the joy is in the time spent.
Right.
not in the product of the cookies, but in the time spent. So if we could focus more on that, the question is, how are we spending our time? Is it worrying about the judgments of other people? Is it worrying about the judgments of ourselves? Is it us judging ourselves? Or is it just leaning into the experience and just being willing to have fun with what is?
And this is the second time that I've baked with Xander, and the product didn't come out the way that I wanted to. And I just focus on that so much. And so I'm actually going in and stealing the fun and the joy that he's having by saying, well, the cake or the cookies didn't come out the way that I wanted to. And so this was a terrible experience, which I'm not using those exact words with him, but that could be the message that he's receiving. And
Right.
so next time he's going to say, well, I don't want to upset my mom, so I don't want to make cookies with her, which then will make me feel bad that my son doesn't want to bake with me anymore. And it's like, see this vicious cycle that happens.
Yeah. Or it could. And one of the things you said, Elish, is you know, something we brought up a few weeks ago was that a pressurized human doesn't perform well. And so the pressure that you're putting on yourself to do this, and then, like you said, bring that energy to it. And then not only could Xander, could it end up Xander saying, yeah, I don't want to make cookies with my mom because I don't want to upset her, but he could then judge himself because he was also one of the participants, one of the bakers baking the cookies. And I do remember one thing that you have not mentioned here was Xander's assessment of the cookies.
Yeah, he thought they were great. And his air quotes picky friend liked them too. And I just kept walking around saying these BS cookies.
So one of the things that you could do at this point as a mom now is revisit that with him.
Yeah.
Right. And just have a conversation with him about it and say, I've really reflected on that. And I just have thought about really what the point of that was. And even though my assessment of the cookies weren't that they weren't as good as I would have wanted them to be, what was really, really special about baking them and doing them. And I love that you love that, like, just reframe the story.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to make cookies with you again. When can we do that?
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about reflecting on a situation and noticing that you didn't respond in a way that is beneficial to what you want to demonstrate to your children as this is a healthy way to be.
Right.
That we can always go back and repair what, I'll use air quotes, damage that we've done. So.
Yeah. And I like that you use air quotes because I think even that is from my perspective, you being quite harsh on yourself
It's
like,
just another lesson.
It's just another lesson.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily damage done, right? Like that's we to me that what's driving that is that, like, I did it wrong and the guilt and I did damage now, and it's like, and it's so subtle, like it sneaks up on us, right? And we don't necessarily see it ourselves when we do it. So thank you for allowing me to be that lens for you.
Absolutely. So we've got some people in our waiting room waiting to join us for the parent support call. If you are live and you want to join us, please do so. And excuse me. Tonight we have our how to handle the holiday gimmies workshop at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The link will be in the bio if you want to sign up to join. And tomorrow, if you're in the LA area, no, it's next week. Next week, if you're in the LA area, we have,
we have our private class that
right, tomorrow's our private class, but
the public one again, yeah.
yeah, so we have another workshop for setting limits and sticking to them. So if you want to join us for either of those, the information will be in the bio.
Right. So just again, tonight, just to be clear, just because in my brain it kind of got, so tonight we're doing the Holiday Gimmies workshop virtually at 6:30 Pacific time. And then next Wednesday, we're going to be at St. Martin of Tours School in Brentwood at 9 a.m. to do sticking limits and setting limits and sticking to them. So if anybody's in the LA area and wants to come, the school, St. Martin of Tours, is hosting us to do this workshop, and we would love to see you in person there or online tonight. Or if you want some coaching, private coaching with us, reach out. That's it. If you want to come to our free support calls on Tuesdays, we do that too after this live at 9 a.m.
And we will we'll be back next week. So until we meet again, keep healing.
Keep healing.
Thank you for tuning in to Imperfect Momming. It's time for us to step up and realize that our power is not in trying to shape our children. Our power lies in shaping ourselves into the people we want our children to model themselves after. Don't just do it for your kids. Do it for yourself. When you become a more self-aware, compassionate, and confident person, you and everyone around you benefit. For more information about me and my work, visit AliciaLyons.com. That's ALYSIALYONS.com. See you next time.